Far away from Earth, in a distant galaxy, the stars were silent. On a large silver ship shaped like a blade, an alien warrior stood still. His name was Kelthor. He was tall, covered in silver and black armor with glowing red eyes. Belonged to the Rinthri, a proud warrior race. His people believed that true honor could only be found by facing the greatest fear of all, death. Kelthor had trained his whole life for this moment. He had traveled from planet to planet, fighting beasts, machines, and other champions, but none were worthy. None had faced death and won. Now he had arrived at the edge of a small blue planet Earth. The Rinthri had watched this planet for years. Humans were strange, emotional, and unpredictable, but there were whispers. Some believed humans were special. Kelthor sent a signal to Earth. His voice echoed across satellites and radios in every language. It said, "I am Kelthir of the Rinthri. I challenge your kind to the right of the end. Send your greatest warrior. Face death with honor." On Earth, leaders, scientists, and generals held meetings. Some thought it was a trick. Others wanted to ignore it. But the challenge was clear. The world was afraid. No one wanted to accept. But in a small city, a man named Jack Carter listened to the message on an old radio. Jack was not a general. He was not a scientist. He was a paramedic. Drove an ambulance, helped people, and lived a quiet life. Jack had once been a soldier, but he had left that behind after the war. He had seen enough death. He wanted to save lives now. Jack looked at the stars that night. He thought about the challenge. He thought about the people he helped every day. If this alien was real, and if he was truly seeking death, then maybe it was not a fight of fists, but a fight of spirit. Jack wrote a message and sent it to the coordinates given in the signal. It simply said, "I accept." The next morning, a strange light appeared outside Jack's home. A ship landed. People ran away in fear. Jack stood calm. The door opened and a tall figure stepped out. It was Kelthor. His armor shined and his eyes glowed. "You are the warrior?" Kelthor asked. "I'm Jack," he replied. "Just a man." But I said yes. Kelthor looked at him, confused. No weapons, no armor, just a calm man in a simple shirt and jeans. "You have one day to prepare," Kelthor said. "Then we face the right." Jack nodded. "All right. Can I spend today helping some people first?" Kelthor tilted his head. "You are strange, human. Do as you wish." That day, Jack went to work as usual. He drove his ambulance. He helped a boy who broke his arm. He gave water to a homeless man, visited a sick girl in the hospital, and made her laugh. Kelthor followed him, watching everything. No training, no fear, just kindness. "Why do you waste your time on the weak?" Kelthor asked. "It's not a waste," Jack said. "This is what makes life matter." Kelthor said nothing. He had fought for honor, for glory. But this human did not seek those things. That night they sat together in silence. "Are you ready to die?" "Tomorrow?" Kelthor asked. Jack looked up at the stars. "I don't want to die. But if facing you helps even one person live, then I'm ready." Kelthor nodded slowly. "Then we begin at sunrise." As the stars moved across the sky, the world waited, watching. News spread fast. Cameras showed the strange alien and the brave human who dared to answer his challenge. But Jack didn't speak to the press. He didn't try to become famous. He just smiled, helped where he could, and waited for the morning. And when the first light of dawn touched the earth, the alien ship rose into the sky, carrying both warrior and man to the place where death would be challenged. The sun rose slowly. As the alien ship floated above the earth, inside the ship, Jack Carter stood quietly. He looked out through the window at the planet below. His hands were calm, his eyes steady. Kelthor stood beside him, silent and serious. "Are you ready?" Kelthor asked. "As ready as I'll ever be," Jack said. The ship flew through space and entered a strange portal. Colors twisted and lights danced around them. Then everything became still. They had arrived at the trial world, a place made by the Rinthri Long. ago, it was not a real planet. Floated in space, covered in dark stone, glowing symbols, and ancient machines. This was the place where the rite of the end would begin. Kelthor stepped out first. Jack followed. The air was cold, but he did not shiver. He looked around. The sky was black, with no sun. Strange lights moved in the air. The ground was covered in ruins. Everything felt quiet but heavy. This is the place where warriors face death, Kelthor said. None have survived. Jack looked at him. Why do you do this? Because my people believe we must defeat death to earn eternal honor. Without this, our race will fade. Jack nodded slowly. Maybe there's another way. Kelthor did not answer. He lifted a small stone and pressed it to his chest. The ground shook. Large door opened from the ruins. Inside, darkness waited. The rite begins now, Kelthor said. You may not return until you reach the end. Jack walked forward without fear. As he entered the door, it closed behind him. He was alone. The first trial began in a long hallway. Shadows moved along the walls. Jack heard whispers. Faces appeared in the dark, twisted and angry. They shouted his name, called him a failure, showed him memories of war, pain, and loss. He closed his eyes and took a deep breath. You're not real, he said. You're just fear. He kept walking. The shadows screamed but could not stop him. Soon, he passed through and came into a new room. There he saw a creature trapped under heavy stone. It was not human or alien. It was something lost and hurt. Jack ran to it and pushed the stone aside. You're free now, he said. The creature looked at him with wide eyes, then ran away into the dark. A hidden door opened. Jack continued. He faced machines with sharp blades, puzzles that twisted the mind, and traps meant to kill. But he did not fight with strength. He used his head, waited, watched, and found safe paths. When he saw a broken robot in one corner, he stopped to fix it. The robot lit up, smiled, and guided him to the next part of the trial. Outside the trial walls, Kelthor watched from a tall tower. He saw everything through a floating screen. He expected Jack to fall early, to give up or die. But Jack did. Something different. He helped, he healed, and he showed no anger. Strange human, Kelthor said softly. You fight without fighting. Inside the next chamber, Jack faced a mirror. But the reflection was not his own. It was a younger version of himself, wearing army gear, holding a weapon covered in blood. You ran, the reflection said. You left them. Jack lowered his eyes. Yes, I did. You should have stayed. If I stayed, I would have died. And then, I couldn't help anyone else. The reflection nodded. Then it faded. A door opened. The final part of the day brought Jack to a garden. It looked peaceful, full of green trees and soft grass. He saw a bench and sat down. Suddenly, an old woman appeared beside him. She looked human, but her eyes were not. Who are you? Jack asked. I am part of the trial, she said. You have done well, but tomorrow you face the last step, death itself. What is death here? A monster? A god? Something deeper, she said. Something that reflects your soul. Yeah. You cannot fight it like others. You must face it with truth. Jack looked at the sky. I'm not afraid. The woman smiled. That is why you were chosen. She vanished, and Jack was alone again. A soft light appeared, showing him a place to sleep. He lay down and closed his eyes. He dreamed of his past, of people he saved, of people he lost. He remembered their names, their faces. And outside, Kelthor stood alone, thinking deeply. He had seen hundreds of warriors scream, cry, and fall. But Jack had done something no one else did. He helped. He forgave. He cared. Kelthor looked up at the stars. For the first time in his life, he began to wonder if honor was not in battle, but in peace. And as the strange world turned slowly, in space, two very different souls waited for the final challenge, the challenge of death itself. The next morning, Jack woke up to the sound of soft wind blowing through the trees. He sat up and looked around. The garden was gone. In its place stood a long, dark hallway made of black stone. Strange symbols glowed on the walls. Jack stood, stretched his arms, and walked forward without fear. This was the final part of the rite. The path would take him to the center of the trial world. There, he would face death itself. Jack didn't know what it would look like. He didn't know if it would speak, or fight, or simply end everything. But he knew he had to face it. Kelthor stood in the watching tower, silent and thoughtful. His eyes followed Jack's every step around him. Rinthri elders and warriors watched too. They had come to see the end. Many expected Jack to fall, but Kelthor was no longer sure. Something about Jack had changed the way he looked at this challenge. As Jack moved forward, the hallway changed. Illusions appeared. He saw people he had saved, smiling, reaching out to him. Then they vanished. He saw people he had lost crying, blaming him. Jack felt the pain, but he kept walking. The voices shouted. The lights flickered, but his steps were steady. Then he reached a great stone door. It opened by itself. Inside was a large circular chamber. In the center stood a black mist, swirling. Like smoke, it had no face, no shape, only darkness. Jack stepped closer. "You are the one who answered the call?" a deep voice said. It came from the mist, calm and cold. "Yes," Jack said. "Why did you come?" "You were no warrior. Because someone had to. You are not here to fight?" Jack shook his head. "I didn't come to fight. I came to understand." The mist paused. It moved slowly around him. "Others came before you. They screamed. They begged. They used swords and fire. I'm not like them. You are not afraid? I've seen death before. It hurts. But I've also seen what comes after. People grow. People change. I came to talk, not to destroy." The mist grew taller. It showed him a memory, his old battlefield, bodies lying in the dirt. Jack closed his eyes. "You left your team," the voice said. "Yes, I did. I couldn't save them, but I saved others later. That guilt stays with me, but I learned from it." The mist shifted. Now it showed him the face of the sick girl he had visited. "At the hospital, you gave her hope. I tried. She deserved it." The room grew quiet. The mist became thinner, like fog in the morning sun. "You carry pain, but you use it to help others. That is rare, maybe. But I think anyone can do it. It just needs someone to believe in them." The mist pulled back, swirling fast. Then it formed into a tall figure with a human face. It looked like Jack, but older and worn. "Wait. I am death," the figure said. "But I am also memory. I am fear. I am regret. You have faced all these and did not turn away. So what now? You have passed. Not by power, but by peace. Not by force, but by truth." The figure faded into light. The chamber shook. A beam of light rose from the floor to the sky. Jack stood in the center, quiet and calm. Far above, Kelthor watched with wide eyes. He had seen warriors fight and fall, but never had death itself. Stepped back, never had the trial ended in light. Jack returned to the surface. The door opened, and he walked out into the cold air. The Rinthri stood in silence. Kelthor stepped forward. "You are the first," Kelthor said. "No one has ever passed the rite without a sword." "Maybe that's the point," Jack replied. "Maybe it was never about beating death, but learning from it." Kelthor fell to one knee. The Rinthri followed. Jack looked around, surprised. "What are you doing?" "We honor you," Kelthor said. "You have changed the meaning of the rite. You have shown us a new path." Jack helped him stand. "Then let's walk it together." The stars above sparkled brighter. A message was sent across the galaxy. A human had passed the Rinthri's greatest trial, but not with power. With heart, and in the quiet that followed, the galaxy began to change. The stars above the trial world were calm now. The great light that had come from the chamber slowly faded. Jack Carter stood outside the ruins, surrounded by Rinthri warriors. None of them spoke. They only looked at him with quiet respect. Jack had not defeated death with weapons or power. He had passed the trial with kindness, honesty, and strength of heart. Kelthor stepped forward. He removed his helmet. For the first time, Jack saw his full face. His skin was gray and smooth, with markings across his cheeks. His eyes were no longer glowing red. They were calm. "You have changed something deep within us," Kelthor said. "We believed only war gave us honor, but you showed us something different." Jack smiled. "Maybe now you can help others instead of fighting." Kelthor nodded slowly. "Come with us. Speak to our people. Teach us what you know." Jack looked up at the sky. He thought about home, about the hospital, the children, and the people he helped. Then he looked back at Kelthor. "All right, I'll come. But I'm not a teacher. I'm just someone who cares." "That is enough," Kelthor said. The Rin-3 ship rose from the trial world. It flew across space toward the Rin-3 home planet. Jack sat near a window, watching stars pass by. He felt a little nervous. He had never traveled so far. He had never been to another world, but he was not afraid. When they arrived, Jack was surprised. The Rin-3 world was beautiful. The sky was a deep purple, and the ground sparkled with silver stones. Large trees with blue leaves moved gently in the wind. The cities were tall and clean, filled with strange but peaceful sounds. Kelthor took Jack to the Hall of Elders. There, the leaders of the Rin-3 waited. They were old and wise, with long robes and calm voices. "We watched your trial, one," Elder said. "You showed a new way. We wish to learn." Jack spoke simply. He told them about Earth. He spoke about his job, helping the sick and injured. He talked about mistakes, pain, hope, and love. The Rin-3 listened closely. Some looked confused, but many nodded. "Can you help our healers?" a younger leader asked. "We wish to care for our people better. I'll do what I can," Jack said. In the days that followed, Jack worked with Rin-3 doctors and workers. He showed them how to clean wounds, make safe water, and treat burns. He shared stories about hospitals, emergency teams, and how small acts of care could change lives. Many Rin-3 began to change. Warriors started helping in clinics. Young fighters chose to study medicine. Even Kelthor removed his armor more often and spent time with children. One Rin-3 doctor, a woman named Vera, became Jack's close friend. She'd always wanted to heal, but was told that warriors were more important. "You make me believe. I can do more," she told Jack one night as they watched the stars. "You already can," Jack said. "You just needed someone to remind you." They built a small hospital together. It was simple, with clean rooms, warm beds, and soft lights. They called it Hope House. People came from many cities to see it. Some came to be healed. Others came just to learn. One evening, as Jack helped a young patient walk again, Kelthor entered the hospital. He watched for a moment, then spoke. "You have given us more than victory. You have given us a future." Jack smiled. He always had one. You just needed to see it. Word of Jack's work spread across nearby planets. Messages arrived from other alien races. They had heard of the human who passed the right without fighting. They wanted to understand how. Some came with questions. Others came with doubts. But when they met Jack, most left with hope. Jack did not give big speeches. He didn't wear a hero's uniform. He simply kept helping, listening, and caring. Slowly, that became more powerful than any weapon. Kelthor began to write a new law. It said that honor could come from peace, and that the right of the end would now be a right of understanding. It would no longer test for death but for life. When the law was passed, Kelthor stood before his people. "This change began with a human named Jack Carter," he said. "He faced death and taught us how to live." The crowd cheered. Jack just stood at the edge, quiet and humble. Later that night, Vera sat beside Jack at the edge of a quiet lake. "Do you miss Earth?" she asked. "Sometimes," Jack said. "Right now, I think I'm where I need to be." The stars above were bright and still, and on a world once ruled by war, healing had begun, because one man chose not to fight but to care. Months passed on the Rin-3 homeworld. Jack Carter continued his work at Hope House, helping people every day. The hospital grew larger, new rooms were built, new doctors were trained. Vera stayed close to Jack, learning everything he knew. She became the lead doctor and a strong voice for change. Kelthor, once a warrior who believed in battle above all, now visited schools and hospitals more often than training grounds. He spoke to young Rinthry about strength of the heart, not the sword. Some older warriors disagreed with the changes, but most began to see the good it brought to their world. One day, a group of young students visited Hope House. Jack gave them a tour. He showed them the healing rooms, the medicine lab, and the garden where patients could rest. A small boy raised his hand and asked, "Why did you come to our world?" Jack smiled because someone needed help. And I believe when someone can help, they should. The students clapped and thanked him. As they left, Vera stood beside him. "You've become more than a healer," she said. "You've become a symbol." "I never wanted that," Jack replied. "I just wanted to do what's right." Later that week, a large council meeting was called. Leaders from many planets came to the Rinthry capital. They had heard about the new rite of understanding. They wanted to see it for themselves. Kelthar spoke first. "We were once a people of war, but we have learned that peace can be stronger." This change began with a human who faced death not with violence, but with kindness. Jack was asked to speak next. He stood before leaders of many worlds. His voice was calm and simple. "I don't come from power or fame," he said. "I was a paramedic. My job was to help. That's all I did here too. You don't need to fight to be brave. Sometimes caring for someone who is hurting is the bravest thing you can do." The room was quiet. Then, one by one, leaders stood and clapped. A decision was made. The rite of understanding would be shared with other planets. It would become a test of compassion and wisdom, not strength. In the days that followed, visitors came from many worlds. They toured Hope House, spoke with Jack, and listened to his stories. Jack stayed the same, quiet, humble, and focused on helping others. One night, Vera found Jack sitting alone outside the hospital. "You okay?" she asked. Jack looked up at the stars. "I'm just thinking, so much has changed. It's hard to believe." "You started something bigger than all of us," Vera said. "But you still care about the small things. That's what makes it special." Jack nodded. "Sometimes I still think about the people I couldn't save, back on Earth during the war." Vera placed a hand on his shoulder. "You carry them with you. That's why you keep helping." One morning, a Rinthry child came to the hospital with a strange illness. The doctors were unsure what to do. Jack stayed with the child day and night, studied the symptoms, tried different treatments, and never gave up. Vera worked beside him. After 3 days, the child began to recover. The parents wept with joy. News of Jack's efforts spread quickly, where people began to believe in the power of care and healing. Kelthar visited Jack the next day. "Did more than heal the child," he said. "You healed our hope." Jack smiled. Hope is a strong medicine. That evening, a group of young Rinthry doctors gave Jack a gift. It was a small statue made of stone and glass. It showed Jack holding a medical bag, standing with open hands. "You changed our world," they said. Jack held the statue quietly. Didn't need awards or statues, but he was deeply moved. Vera looked at him and said, "You once said you were just a man. But to us, you are more." Jack looked down at the statue. "I'm still just a man, but maybe one man can make a difference." As the sky turned dark, lights from the city glowed softly. The stars above shimmered like silver dust. Jack Carter had come to face death, but instead he brought life, hope, and change, and his journey was far from over. The sky above the alien city turned dark as heavy storm clouds rolled in. Wind howled between the tall towers, and lightning flashed across the sky. It was a strange storm, one that did not feel natural. People in the city stopped and stared. The ground shook lightly, and the air felt heavy. In the great hall of the city, the alien warrior corps stood facing the High Council. His armor was cracked, and his face showed signs of pain. But his eyes still burned with fire. "He is still alive," Corps said. The human. He should have died. I challenged death, but it was he who answered. He is different. The council members looked at one another in silence. They had seen the recordings. They had watched as the human, Luke Carter, stood his ground. Even when wounded, they had watched as Luke refused to fall. Something about him scared them. One of the council members, a wise old female named Vetra, spoke softly. He is not like us. He is not like the others. The question now is, what does he want? Far outside the city, deep in the forest, Luke Carter sat alone. His right arm was wrapped in cloth, stained with blood, stared at the fire in front of him. His face was calm, but his mind was full of thoughts. The storm above was not just weather, he could feel it. Something was coming. Something was watching. Ever since the duel with Kor, Luke had felt strange. Not just pain in his body, but a feeling deep inside, something had changed. Beside him, Mira, the young alien scout who had helped him escape earlier, placed a hand on his shoulder. You are still bleeding, she said. I've had worse, Luke answered with a weak smile. But this storm, I think it's not meant for me alone. I think your people are in danger too. She said, it is a sign, a warning. Luke stood, slowly. Then we need to act fast. We can't wait. Together, they began walking toward the edge of the forest. Luke knew they had to go back, not just for him, but for the entire city. He had come to this world by accident, but now he felt responsible. There was something out there, something that had awakened when Kor called out to death, and now it was awake in the city. Panic started to grow. Shadows moved in the streets. People whispered of ghostly figures walking at night. Soldiers reported strange lights and sounds in the sky. And then the attacks began. At first it was just animals vanishing. Then patrols started disappearing. Then whole buildings were found. Empty, no sign of struggle, just silence. Kor walked alone through the quiet city streets. He felt guilt and fear. He had challenged something he did not understand. He had called upon an old force to give him power to defeat death. But death did not come for him. It had chosen another path. Then he saw him. Luke stood at the city gates. Soaked from the rain, but standing tall. His eyes met Kor's. We need to talk, Luke said. Kor nodded and stepped forward. Inside the old war room, maps of the city were spread across the table. Luke pointed at a spot in the northern mountains. That's where it started, he said. I saw something there before I came here. A shape. A shadow. It's moving toward the city. Kor frowned. You believe it followed you? I believe it was called here, Luke said. By your challenge. Kor looked down. He did not argue. He knew it was true. What is it? Mira asked from the corner. I don't know, Luke said. But I've seen something like it before. On Earth, something that feeds on fear. On life, it's not just a creature. It's something older, something dark. The room went silent. The storm outside roared louder. We need to stop it, Kor said at last. Luke nodded. Together, Kor looked at the human. The one. He had once fought to the death. Now he saw something different. He saw a fighter, a survivor. A man who had looked death in the face and did not run. We will gather fighters, Kor said. The best. Not for glory, not for battle songs, but to protect our people. Luke smiled slightly. I'll need a sword. You will get more than a sword, Kor said. You will get our trust. As they left the war room, the rain stopped for a moment. The wind quieted. In that brief silence, Luke looked up. The sky was still dark, but there was light breaking. Through not much, but enough. The battle was coming, and death was still listening.